every night. We just try to connect the dots. We connect, see if we can get 4 in a row. By the way, I want to thank all the watchdogs that have contributed to many of the pieces that are going to be seen in tonight's program, especially the Insider Watchdogs. Thank you for your help. I've shown you a few minutes ago all the ways that free speech is under attack. But as they say, nature abhors a vacuum. Something has to be put back into the system. Well, these radicals that I'm going to introduce you to here in a second on the left, they don't want to just shut you up. They also want to make sure that you are getting the right message. The wrong message is, of course, any of the ideals that our founders used to base this nation, called freedom, individual liberty, the free market. What is the right message? Well, anything that helps the collective, the government knows better than you, share the wealth, socialism, economic justice, those things. You can't do it on your own, free handout, too big to fail, those messages. This radical revolutionary assault is happening from all angles, even from the administration. Yet they deny it every step of the way. But you can call me right now. Yes, it's still working. You can call me. The White House has the phone number, but they can't. They can't deny because it's on tape. Like the NEA story. Oh, they tried to smear me on that. I have an update on that story we'll give in a second. But remember, a few minutes ago, I told you how they were trying to stop free speech under the guise of an emergency. In the next few minutes, before I show you what's behind that blue curtain right over there, it's the fact that nature hates a vacuum. You can't just take free speech out. You've got to put speech in. So what are they doing? How are they doing it? Well, let's start with the media. When they aren't getting a chill up their leg, many in the media, and not just the news media, though they're eager to help President Obama.
Senator, on behalf of the Entertainment Industry Foundation, tell us all about a new volunteerism initiative called I Participate. This is the week to join with millions of Americans in a cause that's bigger than all of us.
Doing good for others, doing positive actions always comes back around and enriches your life.
Would it be all right if I only worked 20 hours today? I'm volunteering at an animal shelter later on.
Of course, I didn't know you did volunteer work.
GE owned NBC. Not only the service stuff, but they also have Green Weeks on TV. No conflict there. General Electric and Green Week. We've also seen it in the classroom. We've showed it to you night after night. Kids are being taught to sing about how Obama is wonderful and how everyone is equal in his sight. Kids are being taught that capitalism is evil and flawed through the story of stuff. It's a video made by the George Soros-funded Tides Foundation. Our kids are still being taught that Woodrow Wilson and FDR were these lovable presidents who were so great. They love the family and everything else, really. Woodrow Wilson was the biggest racist president ever served. And Woodrow Wilson at one point said the point of universities is to make a boy as unlike his father as is possible. Well, since he said that almost 100 years ago, boy, we have almost made it. The job's almost done. Wilson locked up people for speaking out against the government. He's the guy who segregated our military. FDR was elected 4 times. Now, that wasn't illegal at the time, but boy, how did that happen without a very powerful propaganda machine? Many of the programs FDR started were unconstitutional, yet we're seen to be taught that they were so revered. Progressives and radicals, they're the ones teaching. They're the ones writing the history books. They are the ones, to quote President Obama, are trying to fundamentally transform America. We have been made fun of on a lot of things on this program, and that's okay. I just try to tell you the truth as I understand it. We uncovered the NEA propaganda story, along with, it was BigGovernment.com, was it not? They brought it first. Well, if you remember, BigHollywood.com, if you remember the propaganda story, oh, that was crazy. Here is the initial call.
We are just now learning how to really bring this community together to speak with the government, what that looks like legally.
Continue to get involved in those things, to support some of the president's initiatives, but also to do things that we are passionate about and to push the president and push his administration.
Wow, telling that to artists. The NEA, National Endowment for the Arts, but it's worse than we originally thought. The new NEA chairman, Rocco Landsman, just made a speech about a week ago comparing the writing of Barack Obama to Julius Caesar. Well, we mentioned it a few minutes ago. Landsman gave an interesting description of his job interview with Valerie Jarrett, saying he'd use art to change the world. You know, I don't know about you, but I really don't want art to change the world. I'd like people to change the world, together and out in the open, not through some painting that makes me feel like that's a great idea. Fox viewers are always called zombies and idiots, but who are the zombies? Somebody who's getting real political discussion every single day, or somebody making their choice on healthcare through a painting or a Broadway show? The name of this big new art project, by the way, is Artworks. And there are artworks, works of art. I guess people putting people to work, making art, artworks. But what else is there on the name Artworks? There is a third option. It works to convince people, and that's called propaganda. That's why Yossi didn't legally know how to speak to all of those artists on that conference call. If it's just about painting, and that's it, well, that's legal. Why would there be a legal concern? By the way, Landsman was hired by Valerie Jarrett. Her underling is Buffy Wicks. The underling under Buffy is Yossi Sargent. Wow. Let's connect the dots here. We have Buffy and Yossi, and we have Valerie, right? And then we have Barack Obama. Well, Connect 4. Jesus, that was tricky. There are an awful lot of radicals, and they don't necessarily connect the way you thought they would, but they are starting to connect. And they're also lying to us. Here's what Landsman said about propaganda allegations last week. Listen to this.
I know every time, like an advocate, is wrong. That seems to be a touchy subject. Some quote-unquote journalists have recently accused the agency of losing its independence and becoming a propaganda machine. Well, I want to state in no uncertain terms that the NEA is not a political agency. And when art becomes propaganda, I lose all interest. I also want everyone to know that the days of the defensive NEA are over.
He goes on to say they have a plan and he's going to advocate for it, but he continues. Listen to this.
We are granted not a regulatory or enforcement agency, and we will advocate for the president's agenda as well. If it's a particular program, e.g. healthcare reform, no, of course not.
Of course not. Of course not. He would never do that. Could I play the conference call with the NEA, please? Set up by the White House and Buffy Wicks. Play the tape.
I urge you to pick something, whether it's healthcare, education, the environment. There's 4 key areas that the corporation has identified as the areas of service.
All right, so they're silencing anyone who gives you an opposing view, and they fill that void with propaganda while denying that any of this is true. America, you have a choice. I'm going to show you what's behind the blue curtain. I'm going to show you the face. I'm going to show you the faces of revolution. And I'm going to present you with that choice next.
Washington's latest health reform idea? An